Alright, so this one is on stamina, and as we see this person here with their legs slightly open and they're a little bit bent down, this is actually a position which you can stand in. It's a more mild horse stance, horse like the animal horse, and the arms are just naturally kind of to the sides. You can also have them like this, for example, if you want. Anyway, so stamina, essentially the center of it, as we have this little blue orb here, which is more or less located, if you see here, is the navel. Here's the more lower ab area. Here's kind of the pubic region, and basically the genital region. This is like the base of the, I'll get a new color. This is more or less the base of the body, the bowl, the urogenital bowl of the body. Well, this is the base. Oops, excuse me one second. This is the base of the abdominal region. The bladder would be kind of around here, maybe around here. So it's just below the bladder. For a man, this is the prostate region, more or less. For women, I'm not quite sure perfectly, but just the general region above the perineal pubic region. Similarly with the man, you're not trying to like hyper focus on the prostate. In fact, we'll talk about internal focus later, but yeah, this whole region. So just think the whole kind of lower kind of region here, from your tailbone, the anus, the perineum, and some of the parts internal there. Anyway, that's more or less the internal region. The external, the legs, as you see, we have this big chunky channel here. The bone acts as a major, you reach your bones here, they act as a major kind of pressure kinetic channel, which takes a lot of the pressure. For example, if you do certain standing meditations, there are a lot of exercise, a lot of leg exercise, you'll eventually feel your bones, they'll vibrate, or they'll, clean out, because the idea is you want to clean it out. So building stamina essentially is just building up the legs and this region, and once you build up the legs, this region is naturally strong. Similarly, if you tonify this region a little bit, the legs will get a little bit stronger, but of course you want to kind of let things flow outwards towards the legs, because if you put too much pressure internally, it will hurt. And I'll talk about the meditations a little bit later. So firstly is exercise, or more, I guess I should give a general idea on stamina and all this. Stamina more or less is to have staying power, to be able to do things for long periods of time without quitting. I think it's a major thing that we need in the modern age, and it is a thing that we're lacking. I hypothesize, because of all of the lead, that the older generations have a lot of this root, leg kind of strength, so to speak, because lead is actually related to this. Yes, metal lead. Of course, you don't want to eat lead or anything. There's I'm not going to go into alchemy on this one, so don't be eating lead, like metallic lead. Anyway, but so I think there's something to do with that. Also, because now we do things more mentally, so our legs are weaker. Because what happens is that there's a word called sublimation, which means to turn something into a solid into a gas or an air form. Internal alchemy sublimation means that you're taking the leg energy, and you're going, it's going upwards. It's bigger, it's going upwards to, it could be the heart, could be the belly, could be the mind, to wherever. And we don't really always want to do that, because then your legs will get all wobbly and weak and such. Similarly, if you orgasm, or you ejaculate, come essentially from like sexual activity, masturbation, or whatever, it actually takes the leg energy, and you'll lose your leg energy essentially. Goes out the genitals. Now, I believe this happens for men and women. Women's, of course, there's the idea of screwing someone until they can't walk. Got the wheelchair emoji. Similarly, if a guy nuts, his legs will be all wobbly and kind of weak and sore and all that. And if you you come too much, you actually get weak leg disorders, and there's lots of TCM, or Chinese medicine herbal recipes for that. There's one called like tiger legs or some shit. I don't know. It's got cinnamon and tange, mandarin peels, orange peels, and all the ginseng, all those good yang herbs. So yes, this like, I'll briefly go into sexual cultivation, I guess. Essentially, I think the idea of women apparently can have multiple orgasms because they have the yin nature, and legs are more cultivated. Supposedly women's leg strength is stronger than men's, but men's upper body strength is stronger than women's. So that's what I think. Men are yang is upwards, yin is downwards. So I think men are sublimating their energy a lot. That's why men are always kind of anxiety, kind of doing stuff, always fighting with each other, or laughing with each other, or running around and being crazy. And women usually they're sitting down, they're talking, and maybe they're reading a book there. They seem to be much more orderly than men. Men are much more kind of crazy and outgoing. Of course, this changes with age. So there's that thing, but just in the more kind of inherent base nature. So that's my hypothesis as to why women can have more orgasms, essentially, is because they carry more energy in the legs. Now, for sexual cultivation, because you don't want to be losing all this leg energy. Like if you nut, for example, for men, and I assume women, you're gonna lose that leg energy, which you don't want, because that's what you literally use. You sublimate this to do everything. You sublimate it to think. You sublimate it to use your arms to be crafting, creative, and such. So you basically, one thing of learning, and this video is not really about this because I won't go into it too much, but one thing to do is to learn to not basically orgasm or ejaculate or whatever from sex or masturbation. So you keep this leg energy in, and it actually strengthens. Similarly, as I said, this is cultivating stamina. So if you, which is what we're going to talk about more, tonify or focus on the legs during these activities, you will have a lot more staying power, and you won't need to ejaculate, essentially, because this root level relates to the genitals. Also the sacral, which is the bladder, it does relate to the genitals as well. Kind of both of these do. The bottom's more reproduction and living. The top one is more pleasure and emotions and sensuality and such. So yeah, you if you want to cultivate the legs and stamina, you can't be nutting all the time. In summer, you can more so. So Yeah, but I think that could be different for men and women because as apparently men lose the yang energy, which is hot energy, and women lose the yin energy because they lose the fluids. So maybe for men it's easier to come during the summer, maybe, or you can do more, and maybe women or during winter. I'm not sure. You're gonna have to figure that out. If you're women, you're gonna have to try these things out. Otherwise, just learn to retain your leg essence by basically focusing on the legs. So some actual practices during the day, if you want to tonify the legs, if you don't know what tonification is, it basically just means to focus on an area or to take various herbal supplements. It's basically to get blood and energy and heat and all that into an area, strengthen it. So you can just focus on the legs during the day. At night, your focus will more go into this bottom area here, which is basically just the bottom internal pelvic floor region. As I said, don't hyper focus on any area like the tailbone, the anus, and the perineum, just the whole area, the whole region. So tonification of this area, just keep focusing there and you will find that your stamina is better. You will find you have more grounding and it is nice. So that's meditational exercises. You can stand, as I said, this position. You can stand, legs mildly open. This looks a little awkward, this picture, because I drew with the mouse, but whatever. And then you just have your feet facing kind of forward. This one should be a little bit more forward, kind of forward, but a little bit outward. So this is straight on. If they were straight, it'd look like this, but they're not straight, so they're a little bit angled, maybe like a 45, I guess, or let's see, yeah, maybe like a 30-degree, 35-degree angle curved on. And you never want to have the legs, just say if this is a side view, you never want to have the legs, I don't know if this is called parallel or something. So these are the feet, this is your voluptuous butt. And you don't want to do this because what happens is if you go, it just blocks the circulation essentially. It's hard to circulate blood and energy when it's that rigid. So instead, if you want to make it harder, of course, you just go. This is the leg, so yeah, this torso. So you just go a little bit more, a little bit steeper, but you never really want to hit that 90-degree angle. 45 is good. You can go, this is kind of like a 60-ish degree or more like a 70-degree angle. Yeah, you never want to go too steep because you will feel it just does not feel comfortable. So it's called a horse stance. And it's basically standing meditation. Otherwise you just sit naturally and you just focus on the legs and the center and you just circulate your energy, and the idea is to sit, to learn how to sit in meditation, which is harder than you think. But again, if you can sit, then that's the stamina of meditation, because if you can't learn to sit, then you can't do anything else in meditation, because you will always be disrupted by sitting. Same thing in life. If you don't have a house, then you can't. It's hard to do things. If you don't have that stable foundation, that grounding, it's hard to do things. So, physical exercises is squats, deadlifts, sumo leg raises. If you look up shiko, shiko, it should be like shiko. I think that's it. It's probably a kanji for it. I'm pretty sure it's called shiko. Shiko. Sumo leg lifts, which is like if this is a stick figure person, you can angle yourself and you it's the foot there, and you've got one foot on the ground. So this is the ground here, and then you stand back to neutral. Very good. Next is standing leg raises, which I'm a stick figure person. I'm enjoying the stick figure drawing. It's actually quite useful. and you lift that leg up to the side. You can also do different angles, so this is kind of the leg coming back. This person's standing, very chunky thigh there, like that. And so they're lifting it to, it's not just the side, it's the back side. So as in, you can lift, alright, bird's eye view person, yeah, they lifted their legs there, and other leg back side. So you do side, 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 front side, front side, back side, back side. And you can do front, front, and back, but I don't really like doing front and back. It's a bit awkward, and I find it just doesn't give you as much benefit. I think the side one and the back side, because their back muscles always weak, are the best. So that's another way. That's very good for this whole pelvic area. Squat's good for legs. Walking, running, jogging, practicing kicks, leg tai chi, all kinds of things, all kinds of leg exercises, lunges, leg press, reverse hyper if you have a gym, lift your legs back. These are all good, these things. So basically those are the exercises. As I said, the meditation is just focusing in the legs, the whole leg, and this is the center at the bottom bit here. And as I said, careful if you have too much sex, you're gonna, it's actually, you can test it out. You can come, and male or female, whatever, and you can see if your legs feel like they have less energy in them. That'll tell you if you're losing too much energy. Do that. Similarly, you want to eat well and sleep well. These are very, very important, because that's where you build most stuff. Eating, sleeping, eating well, and heavy-ish kind of things, foods, and I don't mean like heavy, like fast food, I mean like dense, nutrient-dense foods, vegetables and meats and such, and that good stuff. And give it a shot. This is cultivating stamina, and it is one of the first things you will do in martial arts, in most training, in meditation, etc., etc. Because if you can't stand and sit, can't just be comfortable, then what can you do? I don't know what. So anyway, enjoyed that, and good.